There is one simple reason I wanted to make this video. Drew Brees is underrated. Now, I don't mean, not enough people think he's truly elite underrated. I mean, this man could very well be called the greatest of all time at the position, and I'm going to show you why.
Split backs, needing 7 yards. Brees throws, end zone, touchdown, and there's the record.
If all we judged quarterbacks on is yards, like we do so often with running backs and receivers, then there wouldn't even be a competition here. Nobody racks up yards like Brees, period. Explaining just how good he is this simple. Highest career regular season passing yards per game with 283.36. Most games all time with 300 plus yards at 109. Most games all time with 400 plus yards at 15. Fastest to reach 40, 50, and 60,000 passing yards. Most seasons leading the league in passing yards with 7. Most consecutive seasons with 4,000 plus yards at 11 and 5,000 plus yards at 3. And most seasons with 5,000 plus passing yards with 5. And here's the killer, there's only been 9 total and no other player has more than 1. By around week 6 or 7 of the 2018 NFL season next year, you can absolutely bet that Drew Brees has broken Peyton Manning's all-time career yards record of 71,940. Fact is, nobody moves the ball like Brees, and we'll continue to see exactly why that's even more impressive as we move on.
Down and 8 from the Giants 9. Brees ties an NFL record with his 7th touchdown.
Who cares if you can move the ball if you can't put it in the end zone? Well, Brees is covered there too, having thrown more than 30 touchdowns in 9 seasons, which brings him even with Peyton Manning and Brett Favre, and Brees still has time. Now let's check back in with the NFL records for a reminder on how Drew Brees has outperformed every quarterback ever when it comes to throwing touchdowns. First off, he's tied for the all-time record most touchdowns thrown in a single game with 7. He also has the most consecutive games with at least 1 touchdown with 54, which beat Johnny Unitas's 52-year-old record by 7 games. He has the most consecutive home games with at least 1 touchdown at 60, the most consecutive seasons with 20-plus touchdowns tied with Manning at 13, the most consecutive seasons with 30-plus touchdowns at 9, and he was also the first quarterback in NFL history to pass for over 40-plus touchdowns in consecutive seasons. The thing with these records is the word consecutive. He's not setting records off the back of one good season, he's doing it by consistently outperforming everybody around him.
To give you an idea of just how accurate Drew was, amazingly, 4 of his 20-yard darts hit in the dead center of the bullseye.
Raw numbers can be circumstantial. Pure yards and touchdowns don't tell the whole story of how well Brees plays the position. And that's where accuracy comes in. Accuracy is a great measure of just how good a quarterback is because it's a built-in success to failure measure, and Brees is great. As a matter of fact, Drew Brees is the most accurate quarterback of all time. He's the all-time leader in completion percentage with 66.8%, and that's a number that's only been climbing season by season, and in a few weeks will be different again. He did lose the single season record to Sam Bradford last year, his 71.2% being beaten by Bradford's 71.6%, but this is incredibly easy to defend even if it's not necessary. Brees set that record while simultaneously setting the record for the most passing yards, attempts, and completions in a single season, all records which have since been broken, the attempts and completions by Brees himself in 2016, and the yards by Peyton Manning in 2013 by a single yard. Now, Bradford broke his record with 100 less attempts and 1.3 yards less per completion. Brees also threw 26 more touchdowns in 2011 than Bradford did in 2016, and Bradford only threw 20 touchdowns total. But all that isn't to take away from Bradford, it just adds to Brees' credibility. He sets records in accuracy whilst really throwing the ball. He doesn't play a conservative game, he's just that accurate.
This year's nominees for Best Supporting Actor are distinguished as a group by the broad and diverse range of the characters that they played.
Stats are great, and in all honesty, I'd be happy to just use his huge list of NFL records as support for my claim that Brees has just as much of a claim to the GOAT moniker as any other quarterback, but it goes much deeper than that.
And Brees with an end zone shot and a beautiful catch for the touchdown by Drew Jordy Nelson.
Drew Brees has never played with a single Pro Bowl wide receiver in New Orleans. No receiver that Brees has played with during his time with the Saints has been awarded a Pro Bowl nod before, during, or after joining the team, and although he has played with a couple of Pro Bowl tight ends. Now, I did some maths for all 5 of Brees' 5,000-yard passing seasons. In 2008, he completed passes to 17 different players, 2 of which were Pro Bowlers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. 2011, 13 players, 3 Pro Bowlers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. 2012, 15 players, 4 Pro Bowlers, 3 running backs, 1 tight end. 2013, 13 players, 3 Pro Bowlers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. And then 2016, 14 players, 2 Pro Bowlers, 2 running backs, and one of those was fullback John Kuhn. In 5 seasons of passing for over 5,000 yards, and that's a combined 26,092 yards, 2,220 completions, and 199 touchdowns, not one single pass made it into the hands of a Pro Bowl receiver because there was never a single one on any of those teams.
I mean, I was heartbroken. We had 5 great years together, and I think just the unexpectedness of it.
It's bad enough Brees hasn't had a Pro Bowl receiver in New Orleans, but it's worse that once a receiver gets anywhere close to 1,000 receiving yards, they're shipped out of there. Now that's definitely an over-exaggeration, but 2 seasons after reaching 1,000 yards, Lance Moore was in Pittsburgh. After getting 931 yards, Kenny Stills was shipped to Miami, and Cooks had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons before being sent to the Patriots. And Jimmy Graham outstayed his welcome too after averaging just over 10 touchdowns a season for 5 years. And the point here is that the emphasis has always been on Brees. Individual receivers are irrelevant because it is Brees that makes this work.
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Do not blame that game on the defense, okay?
It's not a video essay on a quarterback if you don't make excuses based on the other side of the ball. Take a look at legendary quarterbacks like Montana, Elway, Favre, Manning, and Brady, and you will see that Brees has the worst winning percentage out of all those guys. Now, all those guys have won Super Bowls, and if you ever are going to be mentioned in the GOAT conversation, you'd better have a ring. Now, all of those guys had something Brees has never had, and that's a defense. Now, Favre won a Super Bowl with the number 1 defense in yards and scoring. Elway had the 6th and 8th best scoring defenses when he won his Super Bowls. Montana had the number 2, 1, 3, and 8th best scoring defense for all his wins. Brady has won with the 6th, 1st, 3rd, 8th, and 1st again ranked scoring defenses. And Manning won in 2015 with the 4th best scoring and number 1 in yards defense. Now, in 2006, Manning had a terrible defense which ranked 23rd in scoring and 21st in yards, just as bad as the 2009 Saints defense which ranked 20th in scoring and 25th in yards. Now, Brees and Manning are the only guys out of this legendary group to have won a Super Bowl with a defense that wasn't in the top 10 best in scoring. Of course, I would then point out that Drew Brees beat Manning in a Super Bowl in which the Colts had the number 8 scoring defense in the league, and he did it completing 82% of his passes, which is best all time over 30 completions in a Super Bowl. The point of that statement was that Brees has been cursed with truly terrible defenses, which regularly rank among the absolute worst in the NFL. Of course, that does help him when it comes to regularly passing for 5,000 yards, but it does also leave him with an unfair disadvantage compared to those other quarterbacks whom people are much happier to argue on behalf of when it comes to the GOAT discussion. I don't want to finish this by comparing players. I believe that is far too objective, but I believe Drew Brees has more than proven that he should be considered the best to ever play the quarterback position. We don't value other positions on MVP awards, which Brees hasn't got, or Super Bowl wins, which he does. Quarterbacks are held to different standards, but it shouldn't be the case when discussing who plays the position best. So sure, he's only won 1 Super Bowl, albeit for a historically terrible team that for years could only dream of making the playoffs during a 20-year drought between the 60s and 80s, never mind winning a Super Bowl. Drew Brees took a team fresh into a 3rd playoff drought of over 5 years after the 2005 season and won the franchise's first Super Bowl 4 years later. I tend to stay away from sweeping statements, but I will double down on the fact that I believe Drew Brees is the greatest quarterback of all time, because as most people would agree, just like nobody caught the ball better than Jerry Rice and nobody ran the ball better than Walter Payton, Nobody has ever thrown the ball like Drew Brees.